A composed win over Elder Cruz in the first round, where Cyborg had a bit of a war, right? That thing went back and forth. There were some very tricky spots for him. So we have to wonder if that took a toll and if that may manifest itself in this matchup here. And we're off and running in our first semi-final of the evening. Cyborg in the white, Kaynan Duarte in the blue gi here.
Now both of these athletes with impressive resumes, but Kaynan, I would say, with a bit more of an edge here, is the current gi world champion in this match. Looking very confident, pulling straight into close guard.
Interesting to note that the only time these two have faced off was a no-gi match, with Cyborg actually taking the win by heel hook. That was in 2020 at IBJJF. It came as a bit of a surprise, I think, to a lot of people, but an amazing moment there in Jiu-Jitsu. I'm sure Kaynan Duarte would like to even the record a little bit here tonight.
Absolutely. I think there's the big difference in that weakness of Kaynan's too with gi and no gi, because we've seen him finished with that more than one time in no gi. Obviously something he's worked on since then, but as far as the gi game goes, I mean, way less room for error. I think in a lot of his matches we don't really see big gaps like that with Kaynan almost ever, I would say. I love that Kaynan's guard is looking very precise tonight, right? He has like very meaningful movements. Every time he moves, he, like you said earlier, Chase, he seems to inch forward into his next step. It's very calculated, very precise, and not wasting any unnecessary energy, any unnecessary time. And I think that that can feel very daunting on the other end because there isn't any room for error. See Cyborg now taking a standing position rather than the kneeling passing, which opens up a whole different host of options.
That big explosion from Cyborg gave kind of the momentum he needed to switch him over to the direction, get an easy sweep. But I like the aggression from Cyborg. He wanted to make something happen, but Kaynan, like you said, this is so technical. You can't open up any offerings. He'll just take them right away.
Especially because he was setting the pace, right? I think that's the key there is Kaynan does a great job of setting the pace. So even when it looks like somebody has a look at something explosive or they're getting off to you know, their own offense, because he is in control of that moment, he knows exactly where the position is going and he can kind of feel it out and be a step ahead. So it only took him being, you know, half a second ahead there to be able to use that momentum to finish the sweep and come up on top into a passing position that we saw him very similarly in against Elder Cruz in his opening round with a nice crossface on the left-hand side and a good control of the pants with the right-hand grip.
Yeah, you took the thought right from my head there, Kendall. This is very reminiscent of what we saw just half an hour ago, more or less, with Elder Cruz. And that's the beautiful thing about a super high-level athlete is that they just hit the same techniques over and over and over again. Against anybody.
Relentless, yeah. I like seeing his big underhook there on the right-hand side, kind of securing Cyborg's left shoulder to the mat. Now, it is not a surefire pass, though, because we see Roberto's right foot there as a butterfly hook. He can try to use that to alleviate some of the pressure, keep some of the weight off. But, you know, we see that in the hips. We don't necessarily see that with the upper body. We had a strong crossface there for a moment with Kaynan still, regardless of that butterfly. I think Roberto has the belt passed through the back of the leg. Seems to be what he's holding on to with his left hand, which does save you for a moment from that knee cut pass because it's hard for Kaynan to then drive his leg all the way to the ground in like a traditional knee cut position. But I will say that even though it alleviates the pressure, it's very hard to get a lot of offense off of there with someone's pressure like Kaynan. And as I say that, of course, Cyborg starts to come right up to the feet and now is a very strong single leg. No longer the belt, though, I think. Or maybe it's Kaynan's belt. Yeah, it's Kaynan's belt. Or do you
I think
switch
he has
it?
a lapel, possibly the belt with the lapel. I can't see from this angle.
Yeah, that's
but
impressive. He
yeah.
definitely had the belt before. Now he has the lapel. Not sure when he found the time to insert the lapel into the equation, but definitely a much tighter grip than the belt itself. Kaynan, though, anytime I see him in a single leg, he always looks very, very calm and collected. I mean, his balance here is incredible. His ability to escape this position, break that grip just as he did there, stomp that leg down, and come back to neutral is really incredible. And I think it's a smart move to re-pull. Hard to believe, Chase, but we're already halfway into this match. Seem to be just melting down the clock quickly.
Yeah, pretty high paced. Neither seems very fatigued from their first match here.
Interesting to note, Kaynan is one of only 2 athletes this year to win the Gi World and ADCC in the same year. The only other athlete to that was Fionn Davis, right? So we have him not only winning the Worlds and then going to ADCC and winning that as well, but now coming back to the Gi fairly quickly after and having so far a very impressive performance once again. Really entering into this nice triangle. It's very difficult to call it a triangle with the shoulder of Cyborg punching back through, but for a moment there that looked very dangerous, and he's not out of danger just yet.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation because Cyborg had passed the lapel beneath Kainan's back there as holding it. Almost maybe thinking of a Sao Paulo pass, but that does potentially open up the triangle attack. It's kind of a shootout scenario, right? Because if you risk a triangle against someone as big and technical as Cyborg, that
Give up the pass.
That could be dangerous.
I think it really just comes down to who is more dominant in either their Sao Paulo type passing or their triangles and omoplatas, right? It really depends on how the scales are going to tip there. And hard to say in a battle like this when you have someone on top great at the Sao Paulo pass and someone on bottom just electric with their triangles and omoplatas.
Okay, Cyborg now in the open guard of Kaynan. Another position that Kainan's amazing in, so it really is no easy scenario no matter where you're at with Kaynan. Cyborg so far doing pretty well at staying safe and looking to enter some attacks, but still down by 2 as we approach the 3-minute mark in this matchup here.
Interesting to me that Kaynan opts to keep a knee shield while his left leg is so trapped under the body of Cyborg. We typically only see knee shield if you can bring your left leg or your opposite leg out, maybe place the foot on the hip or the foot on the knee, but Kaynan was not really bothered by that at all. I think that may have something to do with the grip he has with the left hand on the pants. Feels that even though his leg was trapped for a moment, he'd have his left hand to help him make that space, and he does, now bringing his foot to the hip, really able to control the distance and the positioning, the base of Cyborg at this point. I think it is pretty rare to see somebody approach Kainan's guard with a kneeling passing style as well. We don't see that quite often at this level. But it's not so surprising when you think of the fact that the first time Cyborg did try to stand up and do a pretty explosive pass, that is what led to the points on the board, right? So maybe looking for a different approach, but doesn't have too much longer to play with the approach. And as I say that, Kaynan dragging that arm across, having to look at it back now. Left hand very tight on the armpit there, now reaching for the lapel.
Oh, that lapel movement was clever, but Cyborg gets that arm back across. Still a strong look from Kaynan. Leaving Cyborg to wonder what can he do to get some offense going here with just a minute and a half left.
Yeah, very difficult when we're back to that arm grip again from Kaynan. He has the left hand on the back of the armpit. He can use that to drag Cyborg's right elbow across the center line. If he can get the elbow across the center line, across the belly, then he's really able to start looking towards the back, looking towards the shoulder, maybe reach his left arm around the wide shoulders of Cyborg, hoping to look for that collar and also start to rotate his legs and his hips. But Cyborg now in a bit of a tough position because he needs to keep that right arm back, but it's also preventing him from working towards his pass. 40 seconds left on the clock. Almost looked like Kaynan was going to look for a Kimura for a moment, but instead passes that lapel, Cyborg looking for another southpaw type pass, dragging his legs back. He's going to hope to open the guard of Kaynan there, but kind of turn that into a sweep of his own.
The hip pressure from Cyborg is pretty tremendous. You can see nearly achieving its goal there, but Kaynan, pretty crafty work of his own, able to maintain this position.
Yeah, Kaynan does a great job of rotating his hips from side to side, almost going to like a side guard, kind of like Shanji style, to avoid that southpaw pass.
And that's going to be it. Kaynan Duarte takes that match, and he'll be moving on to the final.
And advancing to the absolute finals, Kaynan Duarte representing Octos Jiu-Jitsu.